Hello and welcome to Dish Shelved with Adam White. It's been a while, and that's totally my fault. Uh, I'm going to go over a little bit of things about just channel stuff, but I want to talk about the book I did first. I read it for both uh, Rocket Summer and Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, and that is A Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay. It's got illustrations in this edition by Jim Woodring and an introduction by Alan Moore. It was produced by Beehive Books. This is the same edition Michael K. Vaughan has. When he showed it, I was like, man, they've got illustrations by Jim Woodring. I've got to have that. So I went out and got it, and comes in this fancy box and slipcase cover, slides out, and then you get in immediately to the very strange illustrations by Jim Woodring, which I can't talk enough about because I really like Jim Woodring. I did a video on his Frank book probably 2 Octobers ago, maybe. But he does a lot of, he does mostly silent comics, and they're just amazing, and I really enjoy them. He did lots of great illustrations in this. I just want to go ahead and talk about those first, but you can look here. You just see, and it's like, it's almost people. But, and they have over here, like, they always start out with illustrations on the pages that begin the chapters, and then they'll have like strange stuff throughout the book like this. It's really almost Cthulhu-like illustrations that they have in here, and it's not on every page, but it just weird, wild illustrations, and it's perfect for this book because this is honestly the weirdest book I've ever read. Uh, it again is A Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay. I'd never heard of this book before Michael K. Vaughan used it for his Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, but I'm glad I read it because it was really interesting. I think that it's got a lot of stuff, I think, dealing with gender identity in it, which, since this was written in 1920, puts him about 100 years ahead of his time. I just found, I mean, I'm no expert on gender identity, so don't get me wrong there. But I just saw there's lots of stuff in here about the male and female and expectations from the sexes, and a lot of the lines are thinned between the two in it, and people grow to be more male and female in it. People grow extra arms and extra eyes and like new sense organs on their head. I mean, it's just weird. But he really blurs the lines between males and females and what it means to be either one, and how it's kind of gender fluid throughout the book as the characters change throughout it. Mescal is the main character, and he is mostly a he, but he learns different things throughout that again kind of blur those lines of gender as he goes through his journey in this story. And he meets both males and females that have that play with the expectations of those with the reader. Excuse me. And he meets a totally third sex of someone that claims to be neither male nor female but both, and that's a really interesting character. Now, I can't remember all the names because they were all really strange names. And but this he meets this character that's this third gender that's kind of a mix of both male and female. And I mean, the character even says that, and they have new pronouns for the character. And I mean, it's just a lot of stuff that you would hear right now in today's culture. And I thought it was really interesting. And again, it was written in 1920, so he was really ahead of his time. Uh, and There is a lot of discussion of gender. It's a really philosophical book. I thought there was a lot of philosophy in it before I switched schools and became a film major. I had three majors, and one of them was philosophy, so I read a lot of philosophy in college. And this is a really philosophical book because he's really, philosophizing about the different genders and how there's less differences than you think between them, yet in some ways there's more differences. And it's like I said, it plays out a lot of philosophy in this. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me if perhaps David Lindsay struggled with his own gender identity. That's total speculation on my part. I don't know anything about the author except from what I read in this book. But it I just think that it may have been that he had issues with his gender identity, and that's why he wrote this book. Again, total speculation on my part, but it's kind of hard not to think that when you read it because of all the stuff he has in here on gender issues. There's also a fair amount of casual murder, uh, and it stems somewhat from gender issues in it, but it just, I don't know, it's really strange because, the main character, Mescal, really, he commits these murders and he knows they're wrong and he says he's wrong for doing them, but he does it anyway. And it just, it was just part of the weirdness of the book. Uh, I really don't know what to think about that. Uh, and also, it has a really interesting climax to this book. Uh, it also deals with issues of like God and the devil and how that plays into gender too. And the ending, I'm still not sure about. I'm still torn on the ending because it was really strange. And I really just, it's not so much that I didn't understand it as it was just very weird. And I mean, it was perfect for the ending for this book because it was just such a weird book. But it really had a weird ending. And uh, the Arcturus system where this took place, the planet that took place on was called Tormance, which to me is a combination of torment and romance, which kind of shows you further his ideals on gender because his the romance is tormented for Tormance for the book. Now, again, that's just my kind of educated guess on that, but that's kind of what it looked like to me. And it just really strange characters, really strange book, but I'm surprised that it hasn't been picked up on by people that are interested in gender identity issues, because there's a lot of that in here, and I think that there's something to be gained in your own perspective by reading this. But I thought it was really interesting, and I do recommend reading it. Thank you, Roger, for putting it in your cheap old book club. And thanks to Michael K. Vaughan for showing this edition, because like I said, it just was fantastic. It has an introduction by Alan Moore, and like I said, just these pages just have these Cthulhu-like images on them that just don't make any sense, and it is perfect for the book. But this is the Beehive edition. I highly recommend it. It's a little pricey, but it was just a really interesting book. Alan Moore was the perfect person to write an introduction to this. He really hit the nail on the head with some of his observations about it. And Jim Woodring was the perfect artist for this edition. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that book. Hopefully I wasn't blathering too much about it, but that's just kind of what I got out of it. A few things I want to talk about on channel stuff. First of all, I apologize for being gone for so long. I honestly didn't even read a single book during the month of June. June was it was a month. I was sick a lot. I just didn't get around to reading anything, and it was June on the Range, and I really wanted to participate in that, so I apologize, because I love Westerns, and I've always participated in June on the Range since it started, and I just didn't get to it, and I hate that, and so I apologize for not getting to that, because I wanted to read at least one Western, and I really tried, but I just couldn't get in the mindset last month to do much of anything. So, my fault, but hopefully I'll do better next year if I'm still around. Also, I have a couple of books picked out that were suggested by Michael K. Vaughan for Rocket Summer. I do want to read them. They're not too lengthy. This one was a little bit longer, this Voyage to Arcturus. But the other ones I have picked out aren't as long, so I'm hoping I can get to those and talk about those before the end of the month. I'm going to try my best to do it. I've just got a lot of other things going on, and it's really cutting into my reading time. So that's why I haven't been around. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me this week, and I hope you enjoyed my talk about Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay. I hope maybe you'd be interested in reading it, because like I said, I got a lot out of it. It was really philosophical, and if you like that kind of stuff, it's a great book to read. So, plus just for the sheer weirdness of it. I do think it was science fiction. There is fantasy elements to it, but it did strike me as being a science fiction book, so it was perfect for Rocket Summer too. So anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Sorry again for being gone for so long, and I hope to catch you sooner than later.